Hello and welcome to Encantada Maria, where we talk about self-care and personal growth. In today's video, we are going to be discussing boundaries. We're going to discuss what boundaries are, why boundaries are important, how you can identify areas of your life that may need boundaries, and how you can set boundaries in your life and stick to those boundaries. Before we get started, if you like this video or you like content about self-care, productivity, personal growth, all the above, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell so you're notified of future videos. Let's get started. Alright, so first let's discuss what are boundaries. Boundaries are limits that you set within your personal life in order to preserve your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Boundaries can be physical, so for example, if you have boundaries regarding your personal space, you don't like people to get too close to you, that's a physical boundary. Boundaries can also be mental or emotional, so if you have particular values or priorities in your life that you want to be respected, those may require these boundaries. So now let's discuss why boundaries are important. I think the main reason why boundaries are important is because it gives you this sense of self-preservation. So people that may lack healthy boundaries may be overworking themselves to the point to where they feel stressed or overwhelmed. At that point, they are at an increased risk of experiencing burnout. So a main reason why boundaries are important is because they allow you to avoid that risk of burnout. Another reason why boundaries are important is because they can help us create and nurture healthy relationships with others. So whether this is, family relationships, friendships, relationships with a romantic partner, we're setting boundaries and we're asking that they be respected, and in return, we are respecting others' boundaries. When you respect other people's boundaries, you're conveying to them that you care about them, and in return, when they respect your boundaries, there's that mutual level of connection and respect. Now let's discuss how we can set boundaries in our own lives. So how can we identify what areas of our life need boundaries? The first step is to identify your own personal limits. Now, what are your goals or your values or your priorities in life? A great example of this is someone who is very strict about their work schedule. When I finish my workday, I am completely unplugged and no longer think about anything relating to work for that day. The reason that I do this is because I really value my family time and my time with my fiance, and I really want to convey to them that they are important. And so I really try to block out anything relating to work. I don't check emails. I don't take client calls. I want to be present in the moment with them and, show them that I care about them. I care enough about our relationship to spend time with them. And for that reason, I set that boundary. Another way to identify what your boundaries are to identify situations where you are uncomfortable. For this type of boundary, the physical space example is perfect. If you're someone who's not super comfortable having someone stand close to you, especially if they are a stranger or someone that you're not too familiar with, that in and of itself is a physical boundary that you're setting. Another way to identify what boundaries you need to set in your life are to identify what are your triggers. So what situations entice a negative reaction from you? One example for me is I do not do great at navigating large crowds. So, concerts, festivals, any type of situation where there's a large group of people that I have to walk through or, just try to force my way through, not an ideal situation for me. Doesn't really come up a lot because, concerts and festivals are kind of, rare occurrences, but where I really see an issue is at the grocery store. I do not do well trying to navigate a large grocery store crowd. So one, personal limit that I set for myself is I really try to avoid the days in time where I can expect the grocery store to be packed. So, weekends or, right after the work day, usually try to avoid the grocery store during those times. All right, now let's talk about how you can enforce those boundaries. This can honestly be the hardest part, especially for someone like me who has a hard time saying no. But if you want your boundaries to be respected, it takes a little bit of effort and practice to get there, but well worth it. So the first way that you can make sure that your boundaries are respected is to communicate these boundaries with others. People aren't aware of, your personal limits if you don't actually convey those to others. So in your friendships and in your romantic relationships, communicate your boundaries so that they can be respected. Another way to make sure that your boundaries are respected is to be consistent with your boundaries. If you have, a personal boundary where you don't accept client calls after 5, don't accept client calls after 5 for a particular client. Across the board, if you have a boundary, stick to that boundary, be consistent. That way, it just becomes more ingrained in yourself and you feel more comfortable sticking to that boundary. Also, the more consistent that you are, the more that others know that they can't, continue to push you until you kind of break that boundary. Lastly, just like anything else in life that you want to get better at, you have to practice. If you're someone who has a difficult time setting boundaries and saying no to others, completely fine. It's normal. But don't let that keep you from setting boundaries for yourself. So, the more that you say no, the more comfortable that you'll feel, setting those limits in your life, and the better off you'll be as far as your, mental and emotional well-being. All right, so that concludes today's video. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you liked it. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy discussions on self-care and personal growth. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.